How much does a cleaner and a waiter in Norway get paid per month? Is environmental protection so good there? And is it true that everyone in this country gets a percentage of oil sales? Let's find out. And as usual, the longer you watch, the more interesting the video gets. After all, the most unexpected things somehow always come out at the end. But before we begin, make sure you've subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with future content. In all Norway, there are a little more than 5 million people. Most of the area consists of virtually untouched countryside, vast forests, clear rivers, lakes, waterfalls, including the deepest lake and the highest waterfall in Europe, and of course, the fjords that break into the rocky shores. They are extremely picturesque, and not only the world-famous Trolltung and Pulpit Rock, but many others. The Norwegians are going to lay car tunnels floating in the water mass through these fjords. Such hybrids of tunnels and bridges are to be built across the country by 2035. In case the project is implemented, the road along the sea will take motorists 10 hours instead of 21 hours ferry crossings. Still, there is something not told to tourists about the fjords besides their beauty and ambitious engineering projects. Ecology. The Kingdom of Norway is virtually the only country in the world that has not signed an international agreement banning waste dumping at sea. That is because of the old Norwegian tradition of dumping toxic mining waste into its own fjords. People have been doing this for half a century, and they keep doing it even today. These same fjords are where the wild salmon come in, where the ocean cod migrates. The cases when salts of heavy metals are found in the caught fish stop being a sensation and turn into a boring routine. So, enjoy the famous Norwegian salmon with heavy metal salts. The other point is the Atlantic wild salmon fishery in the Barents Sea, which is conducted by Norwegian fishermen. They use bottom trawling, the most destructive method of fishing for marine flora. It takes 1.5 to 6.5 years for the bottom ecosystem to recover after such fishing. Norway is regularly harshly criticized by the North Atlantic Salmon Foundation, yes, there is one, imagine that, for not opposing this fishery enough. Yet the Scandinavians consider themselves leaders in environmental preservation. The phase-out of gasoline-powered cars is underway. Norway is number 1 in the world for electric cars. The country is known for its environmental programs implemented in other countries. For example, the Sovereign Fund, about which we will talk further, allocated more than 1 billion euros for the preservation of tropical forests in Brazil. A similar program has been implemented in Indonesia, Liberia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the same time, in Norway itself, only 2.4% of forests are classified as relict ones, and they are not touched. The rest is being successfully exploited by the timber industry. Norway has the leading role in the world market for pulp and paper. So the news that Norway is the first country in the world to stop logging is not true. It keeps logging, but within the limits of productive forestry. Migrants. Norway, unlike many European countries, does not face any particular problem with migrants. Migration policy changed after Breivik, who justified his actions by protesting against the multiculturalism policy. The Norwegian authorities unequivocally condemned what happened, but at the same time, they slowly started to tighten immigration policy. They were concerned that if things were left as they were, it could happen again. Revenues. Today, Norway is one of the world's most developed countries with a high level of income and quality of life. But it has not always been this way. Just a half-century ago, Norway was still an agrarian country, full of farmers and fishermen barely making ends meet. But in 1969, the Norwegians discovered life-giving oil. Today, oil and natural gas make up 57% of Norway's economy. The country ranks 10th among oil exporters in the world and 3rd as an exporter of natural gas. Only Russia and Canada are ahead of it. Almost half of the money from oil production is deposited in the reserve, and we'll tell you later where and why. Let's first talk about salaries. According to the Norwegian Statistics Bureau, the average wage for workers in 2022 was $5,291. Look here. It shows you the average wage in Norway by occupation. The chart indicates that service personnel make just under $3,200. Yes, a cleaner in Norway mops floors for $3,200 a month. But don't be jealous. First of all, food is so expensive that Norwegians often go on food tours to neighboring Sweden. And secondly, no one has abolished taxes in Norway. The minimum income tax rate in 2022 was 25%. The country has a progressive tax scale. As a result, some people give half of their earnings, while others have their tax payments reduced to a minimum or completely abolished. Oil Fund. Almost 30 years ago, Norway had a state oil fund, now called the Pension Fund. This fund amounts to more than $1 trillion and is the largest in the world. Every year, about half of the oil revenues from the state budget go into this fund. Then, these revenues are invested in companies around the world. It owns stakes in more than 9,000 companies from various countries. Another 30.8% of funds are invested in fixed income securities, mostly in bonds, and 2.6% in real estate. For example, Norwegians own shares in Apple, Nestle, and in general, all profitable companies. Thanks to this ultra-successful fund, Norway has been able to build its famous social security system, Future Generations Fund. Pension. Norwegians retire at age 67. The minimum pension in Norway is around $1,000 a month, but this is the minimum. Meanwhile, the average Norwegian pensioner earns about $2,500 a month. At the same time, when the annual income of people exceeds the average wage by 12 times, they lose their right to a special pension because they're considered too rich and must ensure their own savings. Gender equality. Norway is a country of gender equality. Norwegians strive for equality in all areas of life. For example, when a child is born, the father can also go on maternity leave. In Norway, both boys and girls serve in the army. Girls must be at least 19 years old to serve. Today, women serve in all branches of the Norwegian Armed Forces. Another thing, in any company, the board of directors must include at least 40% of women. In the government, half of ministerial positions are also in the hands of women. However, when it comes to salaries, equality has not yet been achieved. Even in Norway, a woman earns about $600 less than a man holding the same position. Prisons. Now look at this and that. Do you think we decided to make a commercial for Norwegian hotels? No, this is what a prison in Norway looks like. Criminals serve their sentences in comfortable cells, like rooms in a cheap hotel. Sports, walks, work, study, art, all of this is available to offenders during imprisonment. The atmosphere is similar to that of a rehabilitation center, where people get help to reinvent their place in life. Norwegian justice has long been punitive. The enormous recidivism rate has shown that former prisoners are incapable of putting an end to their criminal past. The government took the risky step of reforming the penal system. The results were impressive. Only 1 out of 5 people end up in prison again. In other countries, recidivism rates are many times higher. The ideological basis of the exemplary prison system is the respect of the person as an individual. The Norwegians consider isolation from society to be the most serious punishment. During the time spent in captivity, the offender realizes this. Special rehabilitation programs help find a way out of difficult life situations. The total number of prisoners grows every year, but these numbers are far lower than, for example, in the United States. Norwegians themselves do not consider the penal system in their country to be lenient. Stories about Norwegian prisons leave no one indifferent. Some people even commit concrete actions to get there. At the end of 2018, a 29-year-old armed Russian, reluctant to return to his homeland, stole 70,000 kroner, $7,000, from a bank in Spitsbergen. Then he returned to give the money back, but the organization staff prevented him from entering. As a result, 20 minutes after the robbery, the Russian tourist was detained by the police. His attack was the first bank robbery in the history of the archipelago. He was given 14 months in jail. To commit this audacious crime, the robber had to translate the phrase, "This is a robbery," using Google Translator. The right to wilderness. Norway has a law that stipulates the right of free access to wild nature. This means that you can camp freely outside campsites, walk, ski, bike, and swim wherever you want. Workday. The official workday in Norway is 7.5 hours, yet most office workers work 6 to 7 hours a day. There's also a very interesting phenomenon: vacation for everyone. It happens in July, and it's like the whole country is turned off. 80% or even 90% of Norwegians take vacation at the same time. Many of them have a contract of employment that says you must take 3 out of 5 weeks of vacation in July. Kindergarten. Kindergartens and schools are also closed at this time. The streets in Oslo are empty in July. Norwegians go on vacation to the south of Europe or wooden cottages in the Norwegian mountains. In Norway, 90% of children from 1 year of age go to kindergarten. There, children sleep in baby carriages outdoors during the day, whether it is raining or snowing, whether it's windy or sunny, or even freezing to 14 degrees Fahrenheit. The kindergarten teacher placed the babies in the strollers in the afternoon and take them outside to sleep. Some kindergartens have canopies for strollers while others do not. That's how things are in Norway. One more interesting fact about Norway for those who have watched this video to the end: if all of Norway's sovereign wealth fund assets were sold, every Norwegian man, woman, and child would get $244,000. We're curious to hear your opinion about this video in the comments. At this point, we get to the end of our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon and give this video a big thumbs up.